Greetings. I am Simeon Viltz. I am a musician. I'm a teacher. I'm a student, songwriter, beat maker, producer, rapper, DJ, father, um, and to keep it relevant to the video, I'm a Chicagoan. I grew up in Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago on the South Side. I grew up in Hyde Park. I grew up in Maple Park. For those in the hundreds that know where Maple Park is, and I currently live north of the North Shore. In fact, I currently live on what you could call the North Pole. Waukegan is where I reside currently, and I'm here to talk about some experiences that I've had. Hyde Park has some similarities to some other areas in the city, like where we are currently. If you look around, it could be Hyde Park, right? But similar to Evanston, similar to Oak Park, just in the sense that there's diversity amongst cultures, and that's been a gift and a curse growing up because on one end, I feel very comfortable in my skin no matter where I am. When my father lived in the suburbs of DC, I would be comfortable going out there to Bethesda, Maryland, and being okay because I knew people of different cultures from where I was from in that environment. But then on the flip side, I was actually introduced to racism being from Hyde Park, growing up in Hyde Park. So one story I'm gonna tell is it kind of rings. It stayed with me for a while. Is that I was near 57th and Dorchester when I stayed there at 12 years old. And we're talking, for those who know Hyde Park, the University of Chicago area and that type of thing. So I was there living, it was my mother and I was sweeping the front porch. We were on the first floor. And I was just doing what I thought was a chore, I was sweeping the leaves off the front porch. And there was this older white woman that walked past, and she looked kind of weird, I thought. She was just kind of walking and looked a little bit nervous and uncomfortable. And I didn't really pay much attention to it at the time. I think I probably, excuse me, like most pre-adolescents at that point, I was more thinking about if I finish this chore, I will probably be able to insert whatever. So, lo and behold, some minutes later, I see these policemen roll up, University of Chicago police. And I'm like, okay, what's this about? Okay, what's going on? I didn't even really, being at High Park in the area we were at wasn't huge, big with the crime scene. It was kind of different. Like, what's all this going on? And the police officers came out and they walked up to the porch and they're like, hey, excuse me, who you live here? I was like, yeah, And they're like, is your mother home? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get her right now. I was gonna go into the apartment, and they're like, no, wait. Lo and behold, my mother comes out. She's like, what's going on? And the officers were like, well, we had a call about a potential break-in situation. She was like, what? This is my son, and he's sweeping off leaves off the porch. Yeah, sorry, ma'am. Hey, our apologies. We didn't mean to disturb you. They went on about their merry way. This woman comes back later feeling guilty now. The guilt thing, And came back, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I don't really recall what happened at that point. I think I phased it out. My mother may have cursed it out. Maybe not. Who knows at that point? What would you do, right, in that situation? But I just know that growing up as a young black man in the city of Chicago, that was definitely an angle where I didn't forget that. Going to Ray School, Ray Elementary, that was also a very diverse school. You had people, because of the University of Chicago, you had lab school right down the street. You had people whose parents were from all over the world. So one guy who I was friends with at the time, his family's from Switzerland, and we'd link up and play Legos, that type of thing. And so I had other friends from all over. I mean, we talking anywhere from 79th Street, or another friend of mine whose parents encouraged him, he's of Asian descent, to buy stock in Walgreens at 7th grade, 6th grade. Like, I need I'm gonna try to find you on Facebook or something, because you're rich right now. But needless to say, the guy from Switzerland who I would hang out with from time to time, after school, I don't know, I might have been 10, 9 or 10. I started playing baseball more. That was my thing, and I started getting good at it. So when it was snowing, we made, it's time for me to show off, So I'm making eggs and I'm just, showing off. So we were having a snowball fight, and on the way home, it got heated, whatever. And he was running. I just remember I hit him with a snowball in the back of his head, and as he was running, and he turned around. He's like, you, And at that point, I'm like, I was so young in it that I probably had heard that word before and knew that it wasn't something somebody was supposed to say to you, but I didn't quite know, all of it, because it was like, basically, that was the first time I'd ever been called that. And that was the first time that I ever really heard that word used in my natural setting, and maybe not on some, I couldn't even remember where I might have heard it before that. So, needless to say, I stopped and I was like, wait a minute. And I knew it was bad. And at that point, I ran after him, and he ran inside the house. The next day, ironically enough, buddies of mine I was from, like 79th and Oglesby or whatever, I told them about it, and they all ready to jump him after school, that type of thing. It got crazy. On a whole different note, that same guy, again, we after school playing in snow, and we killing whoever's on the ice, so to speak. You try to lunge at that person. I recall I lunged forth, and next thing I know, I heard a big bell ring. And next thing you know, I wake up, and there's people around me like, Simeon, are you okay? Are you okay? Simeon? Obviously, I had fallen smack in the back and land on my head on the ice, and thank goodness I didn't have what I knew to be a concussion. But that same kid's mother is the one who actually was able to pick me up, so to speak, get me on my feet, and they walked me home. Now, I don't recall which event preceded the other. More than likely, the near concussion event preceded the name calling. But, so that's kind of the contrast growing up in a place like Hyde Park. I mean, another aspect, I recall being naive and going to Bixler Play Lot over by Ray. When I was 6 years old, I got my first bike, and I'm thinking I'm, whatever, riding on my bike, and we're like, go ahead and play, And so I go to Bixler, and then, for those that know about that area, and especially at that time, I won't give away my age, but we'll just say, growing up in the 80s, I guess you could say was, yeah, it was something. It was these kids, they were over from Maryland, the streets Maryland and Drexel, but on 57th Street. Excuse me. So this is like the backyard of the University of Chicago. It's like right before Cottage Grove, and not quite University of Chicago. So it was like it was different, but I know I had a lot of people, a lot of African American people lived in that pocket, and some of them were low income families. And in this particular case, there were some kids, some guys who, they was like, man, you got a new bike, that's cool. Hey, can I ride your bike? And I'm 6 years old. I never got to talk about don't lend your bike. I didn't really have that common sense going on at that time. I was just thinking, okay, here, no problem. And next thing you know, of course, they riding off on my bike down 57th Street. And one of them like, hey, he'll be right back. I'm about to go get him now. He'll be right back. I'm like, okay. They ain't come back. And now I got to figure out, okay, what just happened? I gotta explain that. Of course, one of the worst whippings I ever got, you know, because at that point, the lesson now, don't you ever, you know. Fun enough, we found the bike the next day, oddly enough, on 55th Street, and I knew it was the bike because I had we were riding on our way to church or something. I don't even know. And I had these distinct stickers that they used to give away at Hyde Park Bank, like when you would have a transaction and they give it to you. But anyway, I had those stickers on that bike, and somehow or the other, we had it was a guy that was there. Mother come out, jumping about it like that's because she asked me, "Is that something?" I was like, "Yeah, I think that is my bike." She stopped. You know, I don't know. It's something about Chicago and women. You know what I mean? A lot of heart. Very, very brave. You know, and just wasn't scared. And this guy helped, and lo and behold, we got the bike back. So that was that story. You know, there was some stories definitely that was similar to that out in Maple Park, and I started spending more time there in the summer as I got older. So I would play, you know, baseball out there and that type of thing. Really, the main one that sticks out is that, you know, being from Hyde Park and you're able to, you got this diversity going on. When I would go out to the suburbs of in Maryland to visit my father, and I won't get into details about it, but at the end of that trip, because my father was a stickler for, you know, proper English and articulating yourself, and I'm thankful for that. But at that time, like, I would go out to Maryland talking like, yeah, I'm finna go outside, the ice cream truck, I'm finna go outside. He's like, you finna what? You're not finna, you ain't finna do anything. You are about to go. So I come back and, you know, I'm in Maple Park. You know, my grandparents lived out there, and you know, so now I'm basically with friends out there, and I'm talking, and they're like, "Ugh, why you talk like a white boy? Why you talk like a white boy?" Because I had cousins who also stayed on the low end, right across the street from Holy Angels, and right down the street at the time from the fort. For those that know the Al Rookins Fort. And my uncle, you know, used to go down there sometimes. You know, it was like one of those type of things where, I'm just a young, naive kid. And this is funny because this is a segue from that Hyde Park story I told you earlier from the snowball fight. So now, because now that I think about it, this couldn't have been long. This was probably that summer just after that type of thing, right? So I'm over there and I'm with my cousins and we out playing. There was a lot next door, and we playing baseball or something like that. It was all, you know, something that I'm showing off with, right? I got pretty good, you know, in baseball, and we out there, and I think the team I was on, we beat the other team. Now these are kids from the low. I'm talking about the projects they call like the housing, the outer B's, you know, like. It's all like right there, you know, the high rises and so forth. So they got mad, you know, when the team I was on won, and I just recall us getting into some argument, and all I know is for some reason, because I remember what the dude from Switzerland called me, and I knew it was bad. Something in me, and naive again, compels me to say, "You." Right now, this before NWA, you know, and this before it became somehow cool, you know, within the hip hop and some aspects of the hip hop community that use that word, which I think is awful, you know, now when I hear that cringe, but that's another story. At that time, it was like, what? What? And mind you, you know, I'm this, you know, some would consider a light skinned, curly haired dude running around here, you know, talking like that. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, what they did, right? So they chased us in the crib, needless to say, came back later. Luckily this is before they was busting, like on that level. The kids were, at least, they weren't busting like that. But, you know, they came back and threw that rock through the window, in my aunt window, and my uncle, and all. I definitely, that was another hard lesson, you know, that I had to learn. So that's just kind of the contrast, you know, in the experiences. It's crazy too because on one end, when I felt safest, like near Grand and Walcott, when I came back from school and I was living in a loft over there. Uh, it was a point when I felt like a threat. You know, I couldn't even walk around. I felt like I wanted to cross the street when I would see, you know, the white lady coming down, you know, whatever, starting to nudge her back or whatever. Because I just didn't even feel like dealing with the headache, you know. It got to that point, you know. It was like, I felt like, I know there was some sisters that stayed in that area, and we talking like Ukrainian village, you know, not quite Humble Park, you know, that area. They felt cool with it, but for me, I felt like I was just a boogeyman. Like I just felt like I would be walking around, and they just expecting me just to up out of nowhere, just vamp out or something. And then, but funny enough, when I felt very comfortable, like when I was living in Woodline or in Bronzeville, you know, I felt comfortable. I didn't feel like a threat, but I had cars broken into. I had 2 cars broken into, you know, on the west side. Chicago is full of contrast, and that's a beautiful thing. Cause I mean, to be exposed to all of that definitely makes you very well cultured, you know, and very adaptable and well rounded. So I wouldn't trade it, but yeah, that's my experience. Chicago ill.
Thank you.
Vladimir, there is no more blood. Run and fetch my chariot, or I will lessen your rations.
The chemistry we had was like chemistry class. A Bunsen burner, your bun so burning, and when we bond, a molecular response. H2O was formed. Warmed by desire's fire, adoration admired, higher love, taken higher when we fired up. Lies and lust, mistrials and distrust. For a while built miles of distance between us. To all we had between us was what was between us. First we was teamed up, then we broke the team up. It all fell down like 2 broke femurs. Your love's what I fiend for, like Jodeci singers. We lose cigarettes, dollar bills, 2 singles. Thought we retire and love like seniors. The love I lost, Teddy Pendergrass senior. Had me all broke down with my heart screaming like I want to die, but I can't lie. Your love had me hurting like your love had me feel like you got that good love, it's like now I finally get it. It wasn't just my lack of commitment, but also the fact that I spit it in your face, being sloppy, leaving traces of my wrongdoings on that Prince I King. You put it in the face. Now we're face to face with the reality of no longer being kissy face. We miss you in ways I never thought possible. I thought we lived happily ever after this last obstacle. Things were hostile, so I fell back. Never thought your heart would turn cold, frostbitten. Tossing fireballs without admitting. Now I'm smitten, but no longer forgiving. Can't blame you. May attain you to be equipment. Perfect for me, but now another man claims you. Putting a hurting on me. Through the curtains I see the writing on the wall. I'm fighting with all I can. Our children called a part of my heart. And all this pain I can't stand. I want to die, but I can't lie. Your love had me hurting like your love had me feel like you got that good love, it's like it.